The U.S. Congress turns on Trump. 80% of lawmakers revolt. Israel faces possible arms cut. Strategy begins to collapse. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Global Perspective. The U.S. Congress has just launched a shocking counterstrike in the middle of a raging geopolitical storm. While tensions with Iran continue to burn and the White House pushes military pressure to new heights, Washington itself is fracturing from within. The Senate has entered a dramatic vote aimed at stripping President Donald Trump of his war powers. But the result is not simply a win or loss. The 52-47 vote reveals something far deeper. The United States is now internally divided at the highest level of power. One side seeks to halt military escalation, while the other continues pushing confrontation with Iran to dangerous limits. Immediately, a wave of lawmakers publicly turned against the White House strategy, while simultaneously pushing proposals to cut or suspend military aid to Israel. This effectively places one of Israel's most critical pillars of strength under direct scrutiny in Washington. As political pressure, anti-war sentiment, and demands to limit presidential power surge, Trump's Iran strategy is beginning to shake violently. If these internal fractures continue to widen, the collapse may not only happen on the battlefield, but within America's own power structure. Congress strikes back. Trump's Iran strategy shaken. The Senate vote has exposed an undeniable truth. President Trump's authority over war is now being directly challenged. The resolution aimed at blocking military action against Iran came amid escalating tensions. The 52-47 result paints a picture of deep division. More than 80% of Democratic lawmakers united in support of limiting presidential war powers. This is no longer a minority voice, it has become a powerful political force capable of shaking military strategies in the Middle East. At the same time, another blow is quietly tightening around Israel. Dozens of lawmakers have voted against supplying bombs, weapons, and military equipment. 36 Democratic senators rejected bomb transfers, while many others opposed continued aid altogether. This marks a rare moment in Washington, such a strong wave of opposition toward Israel. If military aid is questioned, Israel could face strategic suffocation from its own allies. Meanwhile, Trump's Iran campaign is losing the political backing needed to escalate further. Every decision is now subject to congressional control, where a single vote can shift the entire balance. Even figures like Bernie Sanders have publicly stated that most Americans want to stop pouring money into Middle East wars. This strikes directly at Trump's political foundation, turning the Iran strategy into a high-risk power gamble. Trump under pressure. Impeachment threat emerges. Calls for impeachment and resignation are now openly surfacing. Lawmakers accuse Trump of overstepping legal boundaries in military decisions involving Iran, threatening both U.S. troops and national security. Under the U.S. Constitution, only Congress has the authority to declare war. Any unilateral escalation by the president is seen as an abuse of power. Senators are emphasizing that large-scale military actions must be approved, and crossing that line could trigger serious legal consequences. The situation is heating up rapidly. Critics argue that reckless decisions are dragging the U.S. toward an unwinnable conflict, where the ultimate cost will be paid by American soldiers and civilians. Meanwhile, Congress is pushing aggressive measures to re-establish legal barriers around presidential authority, leaving Trump's Iran strategy hanging in uncertainty. Trump now faces a dangerous balancing act. Maintain a hard stance on Iran, while under growing political pressure at home. Any misstep could accelerate efforts to remove him from power. UN warning. Europe turning away from Israel. A wave of signals is forming a tightening global pressure on Israel. UN experts have called on all nations to halt arms supplies to Israel, a major turning point. Europe has become the next hotspot. Countries are beginning to reconsider defense agreements. Italy has already cancelled contracts, triggering a domino effect. Reports suggest 26 out of 27 EU nations are considering withdrawing military commitments. Israel's international image is rapidly deteriorating amid accusations, human rights criticism, and global public pressure. Supporting Israel is now becoming politically risky. At the same time, the U.S. is losing its position as a dominant global leader due to internal divisions. Allies are adjusting their stance independently. The entire alliance structure surrounding the U.S. and Israel is beginning to shake. Israel now faces multi-layered isolation. Political pressure from Washington. Opposition from Europe. Warnings from the United Nations. The key question emerges: how long can Israel hold if global support continues to fade? U.S. shifts strategy. Negotiations with Iran begin. While Washington struggles internally, a major shift is quietly unfolding. The U.S. is moving toward negotiations with Iran. Pakistan has emerged unexpectedly as a key mediator, maintaining ties with both Tehran and Washington. At the same time, the U.S. has allowed India to continue buying oil from Russia and Iran, contradicting its previous stance and exposing inconsistencies in policy. As negotiations begin, the entire pressure strategy weakens. Iran moves from a threatened position to one capable of bargaining. Israel, meanwhile, is left vulnerable as its strongest ally shifts direction without clear commitments. Global tensions rise. Strait of Hormuz becomes flashpoint. The focus now turns to the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical oil route. Even a small disruption here could shake the global energy market. Iran understands its strategic leverage. If pushed too far, it could disrupt global oil supply. The U.S. faces a dilemma. Escalate right-pointing arrow, risk energy crisis. Back down right-pointing arrow, lose strategic credibility. Financial markets are already reacting. Investors are shifting to defensive assets. A global energy crisis is no longer theoretical, it's a real possibility. Economic shockwaves begin. Capital is fleeing risk zones. Money is flowing into oil, gold, and safe assets. Energy and defense stocks are rising, while consumer sectors decline. The biggest risk: inflation returns. If oil prices spike, transportation costs rise, production costs surge, global economies could slip back into recession. Developing countries will be hit first, with currency devaluation and rising debt. Even major powers won't be immune. Iran breaks the blockade. Despite U.S. naval pressure, Iranian oil is still flowing. Tankers are using tactics like signal manipulation, route diversification, partial tracking evasion. Even with over 15 U.S. warships deployed, the blockade is not airtight. Iran has also activated an 8,000 kilometers land border network. Iraq, Turkey, Pakistan, Central Asia. This creates alternative trade routes, weakening maritime pressure. The strategic shift: war ends, or changes form. In a shocking statement, Donald Trump declared, "The war with Iran is over." But reality tells a different story. Military operations continue. Naval pressure remains. Negotiations are opening. This contradiction raises a critical question. Is this de-escalation, or a tactical move to gain leverage? Iran, meanwhile, is playing a longer game. Avoid direct confrontation. Maintain pressure indirectly. Strengthen negotiation position. Final turning point: Israel under pressure. Iran's restraint has created a psychological reversal. No retaliation. No escalation. This forces Israel and the U.S. into an uncomfortable position, where their own narratives begin to collapse. Inside Israel, political pressure is rising. Legal issues surrounding leadership are resurfacing. International support is weakening. The result: Israel avoided immediate conflict, but at the cost of credibility. Conclusion: the world is entering a highly unstable phase. The U.S. is divided internally. Alliances are weakening. Iran is adapting strategically. Israel is under growing pressure. Global markets are reacting nervously. This is no longer just a regional conflict. It is a shifting global power game, where perception, strategy, and timing matter as much as military strength. And the most dangerous moment is not when war begins, but when everything is already in place for it to start.